This is the day where we have 80 jerseys that blend into one blue river. One blue river that flows constantly. The end of the river, the empty end of the sea as one. That's how we roll.
Hello and welcome to the Serra High School Football Podcast. How you doing, Coach?
I'm doing well, thank you, Amy.
Great. You had a nice Halloween?
Yeah, I love Halloween. It passed from my kids and now my nephew and now I'm caught.
A niece. You have a niece too, right?
Yeah, but of course my niece too. But she was E.T.
Oh, cute.
And
so cute.
And Caden was Elliot. If we were phoning home, but it's funny. Now I'm caught between like staying at home and giving out candy and scaring kids, or going out and walking around. And I don't know. It's a tough one for me because I love being at home and just giving out candy and making people happy and scared. And I got a fog machine and
that's fun.
Yeah, big time fog machine guy. Yeah,
great.
It lights up the whole neighborhood with fog.
Well, I still have a trick or treater, so we were out hitting the block. So that was I was kind of the grass is always greener. I'm like, I can't wait a few more years and I get to be. I'll get my own fog machine. How's that?
I don't know if anyone in the government listens to this podcast. Actually, if anyone's in government's listening to this podcast, Halloween should be a holiday.
It should.
Come on.
It's pretty good. Yeah.
Right? And I think the Super Bowl should be moved to Saturday. But anyway, those are a couple.
Well, with the Halloween, particularly because there's the little kids have the parade in the morning, and then you got to go trick or treating before it's dark, right?
Right.
Hit the houses with the king size early, right?
Right. Yeah. You got to find those big time strategy. But yeah, Halloween's always one of my favorites. I love Halloween.
Awesome. And I saw you donned some pretty cool suits this week too, so that's always nice.
Couple suits. If I'm feeling in a good mood, team deserves it, then I'll come out in some funky suits that remind people that life is short and life can be stressful, but let's not take it too serious. Let's have a good time here.
Very nice.
Yeah.
And you are coming off a very cool week for your son, Willie, at Pepperdine. You want to tell us a little bit about Monterey and how you did?
Yeah. Well, thankfully he's got some local tournaments, and golf is interesting in college because there's no like home games. Like, hey, I'm going to Auburn, right, and there's 8 home games, and this golf is weird, but he plays in 3 Northern California tournaments throughout the calendar year. One was last weekend or Monday, Tuesday, and he played at Cypress Point Golf Club, which is elite, and it's unbelievable. I've never been there. I've never seen it's super private. It's about as private as a golf club could ever be. You know, you got Augusta National, and you got some of these golf courses that are just you cannot get there.
Wow.
You'll get kicked off the minute you think about going there. And in this case, Stanford hosted a tournament, and Pepperdine got an invite, so it was really cool to see Cypress Point, to see a great golf course, and to see the guys out there battling against one of the great golf courses on the planet.
Awesome. Well, it looked like there were some really cool, distinguished schools there, so I'm glad you had a good time. I'm glad Willie played well, so that's great.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, moving along to your other sport of choice, which is football. Can you lead us through the Valley Christian game? It was last Friday night at Valley, which is always, as you say, a difficult place to play.
Yep.
The final score at half was 7-7, and final score at the end of the game was 24-13, which is our lowest scoring game. Can you just tell us a little bit about how the game went?
Yeah, totally. It was, and my mom or dad brought up the last podcast we had about, the kids choosing to wear the helmets only, and how there's a yin and yang and a push and a pull when it comes to players and coaches. And I think personally, I had my worst week of the year.
Awesome.
And it started with, Coach Bell, on Sunday of the week before, Monday. Obviously, this is after a very highly emotional, highly excitable 2 undefeated teams against Reardon, playing each other at Serra. And Coach Bell said, this is naturally a letdown game. And I looked at Coach Bell and I go, letdown? I go, what are you talking about, letdown game? And I dismissed it out of hand. Mm-hmm. And I've been doing this for 23 years. And any outsider, and I think this is just being human and being kind of a failure or whatever you want to say for me, or in a more positive thing, even though I've been doing this for so many years, I continue to learn and learn through pain and learn through, great things. And this was an example of my own ego attacking me in a way, saying, letdown game, that's not possible with this team. like this team, that team, whatever, we're human. And to play a game like we did against Archbishop Reardon, so if we're on the golf train here a little bit, if par's 72, okay, the Reardon game we might have shot a 59. We might have had like one of the best 4-quarter games in the history of our school.
That's
okay,
yeah, you said that.
And if you look at a golfer, he never shoots 59 because it's impossible to do that. No one's ever done it, and I don't know if anyone ever will. To have an elite score, like 59 is ridiculous. So 60, 61, like super 10 under par, just a fantastic day. And then to go back and do it the next day is very, very hard to do. It rarely happens. And I dismissed it out of hand. I'm like, 59, we'll shoot another 59. Like this is Sarah, or like whatever. And I didn't have any like internal dialogue about it. I just dismissed it. And I'm so disappointed in myself that way because not necessarily because of the outcome, but because of all the experience that I have put in over the years, knowing how difficult, whether it's coming off of 59 or just playing at Valley Christian itself, has always, always, always been hard. Now I mentioned that, but I didn't really like dive into it. I didn't really explain it to the team very well. So I'm always going to take ownership of everything, particularly if things don't go the way they're supposed to go.
Right.
And then just fast forward to after the game, and everyone's really disappointed. And the coaches in the coach's office after the game, we unloaded the bus. Everyone's like, gosh, and I summed up this kind of funny statement. I go, man, I hate losing. And they're I'm like, I'm so sorry about the loss, guys. I hate losing. At the end of the day, we figured out a way to overcome some poor leadership, some humanity, some normal human reactions to letting down. Short week on the road at Valley Christian after a huge win at home. All of it, you look at that on paper and you go, in a rational mind that's not caught up in everything, you're like, this might be a letdown game. Here's how I'm going to handle the week. I did none of that.
Well, are you referring to just kind of like letting off the gas? Like you had said that you were letting the captains kind of take control and kind of you switched up your practice week on a short week. Is that kind of what you're referring to? Just that you let off a little bit in terms of your role? I
would say I'm not going to put that on them. I'm not going to put
that you. I'm not putting it on you.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess what I'm saying is that I'm not saying it's their fault. I'm just saying that
yes.
You tried something different and a week maybe you shouldn't have is all I'm suggesting.
Yes, that's a good point. Yeah. And maybe in the week, like the Reardon week, you just, hey, look, we're going to go helmets only. We're going to, I already know emotionally where you're going to be. That was the wrong week to do that. And that's I defend my players to every moment. Those are my guys. I love them. And I needed to be a better leader is my point. I needed to be a better leader for those guys at that point. Like, guys, you know what? This is a huge letdown week. You're a human. While I love you and you guys have 4-year blah, blah, blah experience and all this stuff.
Sure. Because
you're human, this is about to happen. And here's how we're going to counter that. And I wrote that down in my journal, like, moving forward, hopefully I won't do that again. And there'll be another experience this weekend that I have to learn from. And I think that's the beauty. And I was watching football a couple of weeks ago. I think it was with my dad. Nice. And he goes, what I love about football is we've been watching football forever. And there's still something that you see in a game that you've never seen before each week. And I think that's so enticing about the game. Sure. Something to learn, a play that you're like, whoa, I've never seen that before. Or I can't believe the ball bounced that way. And I think that's part of the romanticism about the game, or why so many Americans are attracted to the game. It's passion, enthusiasm. There's so many things that can happen, and anything can happen on any given weekend. And in this experience, Friday night at Valley Christian, we were in a dogfight the entire game, and there was the perfect combination of. What I was really pleased with the players, they really played hard. Now we didn't play as sharp as we normally play. But they really played hard, and that's the difference. We didn't have a letdown in terms of effort.
Sure.
And if we had a total letdown in effort, we would have lost that game. Another place we didn't let down is in turnovers. So we still, Milwaukee and the ball carriers and the receivers, we've still done a very, very spectacular job in takeaways, in turnover, turning the ball over.
That's great.
Or a blocked punt or something that miserable on special teams did not happen. If any of those things happen, now it's like in the coach's office, I am sorry about the loss.
Right. But at the end of the day, you still won,
Right.
which is great. And what do you think, like, if you were to say that the top three, biggest challenges that night, what would you say they were?
Well, Sarah, ourselves, our own mentality, just kind of the impenetrable shield that you put up in a very competitive game that allows you to fight through those things was gone or just minimized, let's say. Mm-hmm. We in any of these type of games that we're not as sharp as we should be, the officials can be a part of it. Mm-hmm. We did have 2 touchdowns called back.
Yes, I know.
Both of them, in my mind, were calls that were called accurately. I think they made the right call. The first one on the offensive pass interference is questionable, but it's man coverage and Jaden showed his hands and guys run into one another and it could be called as a penalty. It could have gone either way. We reffed a punter on a touchdown that we scored
right
on 4th and 15 or something like that. That happens, and Colin plays so hard. Let me tell you something about Colin. Colin has just been absolutely spectacular this year on his effort.
Beast.
He's just,
so good.
If you watch him practice, you would understand. If you watch him play, you could probably connect. He plays like that because that's how he practices.
That's awesome.
And he practices so hard, and he's in our captain's council. He's one of our 4-year varsity guys, and he's just got this spiritual warrior spirit about him. And so this is something. This is kind of inside, and I think sometimes people like to hear the inside thought on this. So 4th and 15, the last thing you want to do is rough the punter, okay? Because if you rough the punter, they get a first down.
Right.
And it's 4th and 15. They have 0% chance of getting a first down. Just take the ball. They're punting it from the minus 10-yard line. You're going to have great field position. That would have been a great thing for me to say before the play. But with Colin, we had a return on earlier in the game, and he did exactly the same thing, okay? And he missed the punter, but the punter shanked the ball and punted it like 10 yards. I didn't say anything. That was good. Great outcome. Mm-hmm. Didn't say anything because Sarah came out on top on that play. Fast forward to 14-13, they tie the game. The game is tied right now. They're kicking the PAT. Colin, massive effort, massive energy, splits the block and puts his hand up and blocks it. Now it's 14-13. So I can tell you as a coach, the emotion of like, oh my gosh, it's a tie game. I can't believe it. 2, we're still winning.
I'll bet.
Oh my gosh.
And he's done that routinely this season.
He's been blocking
right.
all sorts of stuff. Okay. So then go to this situation I just talked about. He didn't know it was going to be a touchdown. He's just doing what he does. Playing his butt off, got blocked. It was a side block and he ended up running into the punter, and that's a penalty. And it took 7 points off the board. But for me, that's a coaching error. That is on me, because in that period, I should pull up the punt return team and say, guys, it's 4th and 15. Let's be smart here. We know we have a 1-point lead or whatever.
I see.
We're getting the ball. We're gonna have great field position. Let's not do anything that could jeopardize the situation. But I didn't do that. So again, this always in my mind, and this is where I really enjoy this. I don't enjoy the pain, but I'm okay absorbing the pain because I believe this is my responsibility. I brag about the coaches because they're absolutely fantastic. Players are fantastic. They get all the glory because they're the ones making all the plays. But when things go bad, I can't. It's hard for me to sleep. It's on me. And I could have done a better job last week, and I think that's how we'll sum it up. With that said, we're still undefeated. We're 9-0. We battled through a lot of things. I got to 2 on your list of things that the top 3 things. We're going to stop at 2. But I'm very, very proud of our coaches hanging in there. I'm proud of us in a time where we could have panicked. Panic would have been an issue. I talked to them at halftime about managing fear, managing expectations, and how we were going to go out. If we're not going to go out with fear, we're going to go out with love, with fighting, with things that lift us. And that was the message at halftime, and I think the second half they did a great job of that.
I agree, and I was going to ask you that question on what you did say to them. So obviously, they obviously heard you. So it was a great game, great effort. I mean, football, like you said, is really fun when you're challenged too. I mean, there's that element too. And, going into the postseason, which we'll talk about next, all of that experience is definitely going to be helpful both with coaches and with players, right? Because you always are so good about taking those little nuggets that you learn and improving on them, So, I mean, that's really how you build yourself better, right?
Sure.
So,
yep.
Awesome. Well, again, going into the playoffs. So playoffs are inevitable for us at this record that we have now. Can you just talk to us about playoffs in general? Just assume we know nothing.
Yes. And I'm going to assume you know nothing because playoffs changed this year.
Oh, good.
And this is this is the first time it's changed. And up to 2 weeks ago, I had no idea what was happening in the playoffs.
Interesting.
Head down, do your thing. Put the chips on the table. Right now it matters. Okay, so the section has made a change. And what they're doing now in our section is they're taking the top 8 teams and putting them into Division 1/open. It's a kind of a combo division. Okay? And the intent, I believe, from the section is to put multiple of our best teams into the state playoff system. So the section can be represented at the state level.
Okay.
The section, the CIF, has a rule. You can enter the state playoffs only if you win a section. You cannot, many years ago, 5-6 years ago, you could lose at a high level in the open, let's say, and the section could say, because it's an open division, we're going to put the team that won this game and the team that lost this game into the state playoff system. The section said, we're not doing that anymore. I'm sorry, the CIF said, we're not doing that anymore for our state playoffs. So the North Coast section and a couple other sections came up with this concept of, well, if you have to win, and the section that we're in chooses to take the top 8 teams, okay? Mm-hmm. So there's 120 teams in our section or more. Our section, by our point system, says who has the most points? They're the 1 seed. Who has the next most point? They're the 2 seed. So then they take the top 8 teams, okay?
Okay.
And that's Division 1/open. And then they take the next 8 teams, and that's Division 2.
Okay.
And the next 8 teams, and so on and so forth. So because by nature of the strength of our schedule, the league that we play in, and the amount of wins that we have, we are an open Division 1 team and probably always will be because we're a WCL team. And just we play 7 games that are ranked higher than other leagues, okay? Which is entirely fair. Okay, so here's the stuff. Here's the new part. One plays 8, 2 plays 7. 3 plays 6, 4 plays 5, but let's put that on pause for a second. 1 plays 8, 2 plays 7. The winner of that game in round 2 will now play for the Open Division Championship.
Okay.
Whoever wins that game is the Open Division champion, is done. Okay?
Okay.
Generally, okay.
So we'll play 2 or 7 based on it, provided that we win.
I think yes. Right now we are projected to be the 1 seed. I don't know. I don't like thinking about, I'm not going there.
I don't want to. I was saying but just number wise.
If it stopped right now, we'd be the 1 seed.
Got it.
Okay. I don't know what happens if we win or lose this next game. Like if we win, we'll probably we're going to be the 1 seed. If we win, if we lose, we might be the 2 seed. I don't know. That's where I don't.
We're just saying playoff bound based on our
correct
scores.
It will either be the 1 or 2 seed. Okay. So, in that open division game, which is round 2, the winner of 1 versus 8, 2 versus 7, the loser of that game goes back into the Division 1 playoff. Okay?
That's right.
And they go back in and they will play a 3rd game, and whoever wins that also goes to the state championship system. So now what the section has done is they've taken their top 8 teams and they've scraped them off the playoff system, and they've created an environment where 2 of our top 8 teams, whether it's 1 or 8 or 2 or 7 or 3, whatever,
right,
go to the state playoff system.
Interesting.
So that's totally changed this year in the section.
Okay, and so based on open division then, so when we get, just say for the very final game though, it's still Saddleback, the whole, with one of the Southern California teams.
Right. So the CIF takes the arguable best team in NorCal that they choose, and they take the best team in SoCal that they choose. They get a bye in the regional. which is the week after Thanksgiving, and those teams play for the state championship at the open division level. So again, that is totally out of our control.
Right.
We have zero control over that. What we have control over is our attitude, our effort, our love, brotherhood, and humility in our game tomorrow night versus St. Ignatius.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Well, yep.
And then when the playoffs come, we'll talk about that. We'll talk about week 1. We'll talk about week 2. See where we're at. At that point, we know exactly what happens if then,
right?
Which is you have to do that as you prepare for the playoffs. So there's an if then scenario when we get to that point. If we lose round 1 of the playoffs, we're done. We're handing in our pads. If we win round 2 of the playoffs, we're the open division championship. If we lose that game, we'd go back into these section playoffs and go back in where you'd have another shot at winning the section just at the Division 1 level. And that's how it rolls this year. So hopefully fans out there that are paying attention now understand the Central Coast section Division 1/open playoff system.
Well, that was perfectly said, because honestly, people have questions every year, and every year it feels like we still are like if and what. So
sure.
I really appreciate that. That's great.
Well, and I think to add to that is how do they select them? So many sections sit around a table and say, we think you're number 1. And I think I'm number 1, and you're number 2, and we think you're number 3. And there's humans
like
that
a conversation,
literally,
like
it's a conversation,
wow.
right? We don't do that in our section, which I really, really appreciate. In our section, we use a point system that is a compilation of many different things that lead to developing points. So if you win, you get more points than if you lose. Fair enough. If you beat a team that's ranked higher in Cal Prep's ranking, you earn more points for beating a team like that. If you schedule and beat a team in the top 50 in the country, you get more points and things like that. So we have a very, very strong strength of schedule with Central Catholic, with Folsom, with De La Salle. Here's another one. If you beat a team and or play a team that becomes a league champion, you get another point.
Oh, wow.
So there's accelerators for being at the top of the food chain and playing really good teams. And those all those points get added together, and then literally the section goes, well, they have 90 points, they have 70 points, they have whatever it is, and they just roll it out, and it's a very peaceful thing.
Very fair too. I mean, it
seems to be fair. Yeah. I mean, and some people say, don't put too much emphasis on a computer. Like, let's get some common sense human stuff in here. But in my time here in the years that I've been in the section, I really appreciate that because, I've heard some horror stories about other sections and some of the arguments that the coaches have sitting around the table, like, well, we beat them and they beat them. And I don't know, it becomes very subjective, and it's like
very political.
It could become very political.
Justify anything, right? Like,
right.
If we didn't play them, we would have.
Right. Well, you beat them by 8 and we beat them by 10, and therefore, all that football math comes in again.
Exactly. That favorite thing. Well, awesome. Well, I'm so excited to move on through the season. It's going to be a great game on Friday night at 7:00 here under the lights, which I know we always love. It's a special night as well because not only is it under the lights, but it's also senior night.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about our tradition of senior night? This year we have 32 seniors, which is a large number. You want to talk about just how we bid them farewell or just highlight them? Yeah.
So before we warm up, right after the JV game, the parents come down to the track and families, and some of our Polynesian families have like 600 people that
awesome.
come out with signs and T-shirts and balloons and all sorts of fun stuff and leis, and it's a really cool tradition for the seniors to be celebrated. And then we take a big picture, and it's a really feel good night, and it can be a challenge too because it's different. It differs, and we have talked about that already, and I will talk about that in chapel this week about how to handle that because it brings up stuff, like families. Not everyone's the what is it, Beverly with the Cleavers, right?
Right.
It's like sometimes there's the Brady Bunch. There's a lot of things with families, and sometimes it brings it up. So we talk about that, and it's healthy too. It's like we're not expected to be perfect. All families are not built perfectly. So if there's something that you're going through, let's talk about it. Let's deal with it. Let's have a teammate walk out with you, or one of those things. So it can be a challenge at times, but at the end of the day, it's a celebration of a 4-year commitment most of the time to Serra High School, to Serra High School football, and this is our way of celebrating that joy and commitment. A lot of people sacrifice a lot for their boy to be a Padre. And in front of a packed house, in front of a big crowd here on a Friday night, which I do not remember in my time ever having the night game week 10. I don't think we've ever done it. And I have no say in that, just for the record.
Right.
I don't dictate when homecoming is. I don't dictate when the night game is. That's for the school. And I don't really know, to be honest with you. Maybe you know.
No, well, I remember hearing about it back in August. I remember it being calendared for this late date, but I don't know what the purpose behind it was. But it's kind of cool, though.
It is kind of cool.
I'm excited for it.
Yeah, yeah. I'm nervous. I have mixed feelings about the night games. You know how much I love day games.
I know. You just talked about that.
Oh, I love day games. I love them. But the environment that everyone's going to see tomorrow is why Serra needs lights.
Right. Friday night lights.
Serra needs lights. We need lights here. We're going to have them here. I don't know when, but
we're manifesting lights. We've been doing it for years. It'll happen.
We need to manifest it harder, obviously.
Yeah.
But tomorrow is a celebration of everything that's Serra, everything that's Tri-School, everything that's
alumni,
our community.
Fans.
It's beautiful. It's a
great. Beautiful
night, and it's St. Ignatius has been our night game many times. So it's going to be a wild night. It's going to be a tough football game. Lenny Vandermeet's the new head coach of St. Ignatius. Came up from USC and Mater Dei, and has a huge kind of pedigree of football knowledge.
And they have lights now.
They have lights.
They've been practicing under the lights for some time.
They're used to it.
Yep.
So they used to be a day team,
right?
Kind of like Reardon. I think we're the last two of the Mohicans now, because Archbishop Mitty, while they don't have lights, they play at Foothill College. So Reardon still plays day games. Serra still plays day games. But, so this is going to be exciting. I've seen, St. Ignatius has won 3 games in a row. They've shown a lot of resiliency in their games. They've won several 1-point or 1-score games. They play with pride, and they play with love for their school. I can see what Coach Vandermeet is bringing to the program. They're tough. They got a big offensive line. They got a stout defense. They, I can see the new coaching staff in week 10, how it looks different, earlier in the season.
Right. Interesting.
So, and this happens, and you can't just create a program in one year.
Right.
And any new staff has challenges when it comes to getting to know where to put the right pieces in the puzzle. And I can see from the growth of the Wildcats that coach has grown and the staff has grown, and they're playing their best football right now. And it's going to be a fun night of football.
That's great. Another challenging game. And how are you coaching the kids differently this week?
Just more attention to detail.
Yep.
Less kind of nebulous. I'm not happy with how I coached last week. So now I'm kind of back to the old school. Like,
awesome.
That's not good enough. That's good enough. Just simple stuff. This is not a hard deal, but it's sometimes it's hard, Amy, for me to stay on that gas pedal every single minute of every single day. I do have that slogan, ABC, always be coaching. And while I don't think I was fooling around last week, the tightening of the screw that I think that I do a good job of, did not do a good job of that last week. And regardless of what happens in the game tomorrow, I'm not going out like that. I'm back to, this is a hardcore, tough organization. We are a tough organization. And those two words stand independent of one another. Tough. What does that word mean? Well, you can think it can be like, I'm just, hardcore tough. But for me, it's spiritual toughness, mental toughness, physical toughness. You need it all to be a spiritual warrior. And then organization. Are we organized? Are we disciplined? Do we have a good game plan? Do we have the right pieces of the puzzle? Or have we thought about this? Have we thought about that? Asking the questions to the coaches. Did you think about this? What about this? It's senior night, all sorts of things that I'm responsible for. At the end of the day, whatever happens tomorrow night, it's going on my record. Mm-hmm. And I respectfully say that to the coaches. That's why I take this so personal. And I don't really care about the record anyway. I'm just saying it's my responsibility to make sure that we are focused. And I'm hopeful that I've done a better job this week of managing the organization to be more focused on the biggest game of the year. Week 10, the countdown clock goes to 0. The 10-week dash is over tomorrow night at 9:30. Can't believe it. I feel like
It went so fast.
oh man, I'm almost feeling that sense of regret. Like, God, I could have got closer to this person, or I could have spent more time with this kid, or it's kind of over. It's not over, but
There's a lot more memory. There's a lot more memories to be made, though. It's
I
a
know.
lot of great team bonding experiences, and
Yeah.
I just love your passion. I love. I know I speak on behalf of all the people that listen to this podcast that you run an amazing organization, and we value you so much. And you shouldn't be so hard on yourself. You do such a great job, and I know that we all feel that way. So,
I thank you.
And tomorrow night, like I said, kickoff at 7, and JV plays prior to that, right?
Yes,
at
4, I think 4 or
Yeah.
4:30. I don't know.
Awesome. And then Freshies have their last game at 10 a.m. on Saturday at SI. So it's going to be a great weekend, a great Wildcat Padre battle on both fields. So we thank you for your time and for all you do for our boys. Congratulations, seniors. We're looking forward to celebrating you tomorrow night. Go Padres.
Go Padres.